Welcome to another episode of Film Fanatics, and today we're going to talk about Inferno. And Inferno is the third installment of the films based on the massively popular Dan Brown novels. Once again, they find our history expert and puzzle solver, Dr. Robert Langdon, portrayed Adam by Oscar winner Tom Hanks, of course.
Hanks.
And this time he's gallivanting all over Italy and Istanbul, interpreting Dante's Inferno in order to save the world from a lethal virus.
Save the world. Sort of like a mild Indiana Jones adventure.
Very mild.
I guess you could say.
Right. Now,
Very,
one good
very,
thing
very,
is
very,
Tom
very mild.
Hanks' co-star in this is the very delightful Felicity Jones.
Right.
I love her name, Felicity.
Felicity.
So tell us what you think of Inferno. Does it burn up the screen?
Well, let me start by saying, A, I have not read the books.
Right. We always have to say that.
B, I'm not a huge fan of the first two movies. I have
Agreed.
to confess.
So far, we're on the same page.
So, having said that, I would say, is this the best of the three? I mean, I found it slightly more enjoyable
I
than
can
the
definitively
past two.
say this is the most recent one I've seen of the three.
Well, there you go. There
Well,
you go.
we both
I
love
mean,
director Ron Howard.
We do, and Ron Howard directs the crap out of this
Yeah,
movie. It's
I would
beautiful
say
to look at. The locales
venues
are
great.
Great
It's
locales.
It's almost like a motion picture postcard of those scenes in the Palazzo and throughout Istanbul.
Yeah, it's
And I think
beautiful.
what you want in this kind of a film is you want some mystery, but you want to be able to hold on something so you're
Right.
rooting for the protagonist. And this is a very convoluted story.
Very.
And there are times when it's so twisty and so turny that you lose track of who the good guys are and who the bad guys are.
Well, I personally got a sense that this would have been better left a book, personally.
Right.
And as much as I love Tom Hanks, we talk about him over and over. The guy is just another one of those national treasures. But I don't know. He feels, even though I don't know the books, obviously, he feels miscast in this role to me. There's something
Well, I think
off
what
about
it
his
is, what we
casting.
love about Tom Hanks is that he's kind of the everyday guy in an extraordinary situation. But here he's supposed to be absolutely convincing.
And
Of course,
scholarly.
he plays in this movie half the time he's practically unconscious. He has these wild visual flashbacks.
Which are cool.
They're kind of cool.
Interesting.
The thing about the movie is that it's not as much about unraveling the mystery as it is a cat and mouse chase
Well, that's
movie.
true, and the thing
Like
about
the last
thing,
Bourne film.
The thing about
Remember that?
Bourne.
Right.
The thing about the mystery element of this movie too is that we never really think that Robert Langdon is bad because we already know from two other stories. That's a problem too. You look at a movie like Unknown with Liam Neeson, which had a similar thing going.
Right.
What's going on with this guy? He's got no memory. Is this guy good? Is he bad? That's never really the case in this movie because we really know what kind of a guy he is.
In movie terms,
already.
it misses a really strong MacGuffin, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's safe to say. I mean, there are okay moments, and Ron Howard's it's well directed. It's not boring. I wouldn't call it bad, but I wasn't really overtaken by it either.
There are long stretches where there's not a lot of action, too.
No, and it seems to be a current trend of people following other people for 2 hours in movies, and there's a lot of that going on in this movie.
So
but you're right, great
I
locales.
say if you love the books, of course you should see it. But for all the other non-book lovers,
Wait for DVD.
I say wait for DVD.
Stream it.
Right.
Without question.
Great.
So Bruce,
Yes.
it's Halloween, and nothing says Halloween like a great horror movie. What we have up next is a film called Ouija, Origin of Evil. So I don't know if this is the best Halloween movie you can see this Halloween season, but it's
My
certainly
cousin
not
Sandy
the
and
worst.
Lori had one at their house, and we played it one night when I was
Really?
like 7.
Uh-oh. Did
really
you get
scary.
with some weird stuff going on?
Well, they spooked you a lot because they told you, well, anyway.
Yeah.
It still brings up bad memories for me. I don't want to talk about it.
So sorry.
It's okay. Back to the
okay.
movie.
In this 60s set prequel to the forgettable 2014 film, skeptic mom Alice Zander and her 2 daughters, Lena and Doris, spend their time aiding mourning individuals by leading them to believe that they're actually speaking with their deceased loved ones. But as it turns out, the Zanders don't really have the ability to consort with the dead at all. But their little side hobby isn't so much driven by greed as it is by a yearning to help others after a tragedy profoundly affects their own family unit. And it isn't long before Alice becomes a true believer after her youngest daughter, Doris, obtains a special gift following her playing with the Ouija board. So this is the setup.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, have you ever...
Is it scary? That's what we want to know.
It has moments, and let me tell you, the ace up the sleeve, is that a term?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The ace up the sleeve is director Mike Flanagan. That's what sets this movie apart from a lot of the other disposable horror movies
Right.
that we've seen in the last couple of years, including the first Ouija, which was
I don't even
Dullsville.
remember it. I don't think I even
Precisely.
saw it.
Nobody does. So there's
So
some.
why did they make another one?
There's some fun
Is it
stuff
a
in it.
do-over?
Well, it doesn't really have anything in common. There's no commonality between this
Okay.
and the 2014 film, except that it has a Ouija board in it. There's no real connective tissue. There is a bonus scene that tries to connect the movies, but it actually ended up confusing audiences, which is a whole other
To
show.
reward the 8 people that saw the first one.
Exactly. So it's surprisingly bleak. There's a lot of emotion, a lot more of emotion in this movie than you're used to getting in genre films of this kind, and I like that about it. There's
So
drama
you say,
there. So
see it in the theater?
I would actually say see it. I don't think that it's perfect, but I liked it. It's a
There's
fun
not a
movie to
lot
see
of
on
scary
Halloween.
movies around in the theater, surprisingly, right now.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a lot of other horror movies that you've seen. But this guy, Mike Flanagan, he knows how to generate scares. So I say see it.
Okay, this is interesting. One more film we're going to tell you about, and that's the new Jack Reacher film. Jack Reacher was the first film adapted from the Lee Child novel, and it featured Tom Cruise as a tough, smart, very fight-ready title character who's off the grid but pops up to solve crimes. And the first installment was witty, gritty, and featured a great cast. The second film seems to do everything the first film did, but not as well.
Less interesting.
It says it in the title, Never Go Back.
Yeah.
I think this is a case of sequelitis.
Well, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the first one either. I like
I liked
Christopher
it a lot.
McQuarrie's direction. This second movie was directed by Ed Zwick, which is interesting because this is not really in Ed Zwick's wheelhouse, and it shows because
Blood Diamond, Last Samurai.
yeah, and,
Right.
and some of his historical dramas, which are really well done, and where he gets it right, I guess, is with the family, the theme of family going on in
Right.
this movie.
There's a young
which-
actress, her name is, I want to make sure I get it right, Danica Yarosh, who
Yeah.
plays like this shoplifting teenager who may be the daughter of the Tom Cruise character.
Right, and there's some fun family stuff, and they play with that whole thing. But where it gets it wrong, I think, are in the action sequences, which are really boring and uninspired.
few.
Right, and a lot of people, again, following each other around. It's like, do these guys ever look 2 feet behind them? Because they're awfully close to one another when they're following
and-
each other
and
around.
We also notice you can always tell the bad guys because they drive black Suburbans.
Yeah, boring bad guy in this movie, by the way. I
Agreed.
mean, it just was.
Yeah, the first
I don't
film
know,
had
it was
Werner
dull.
Herzog. I mean, it had Robert Duvall. It had some
Even
great
Jai
people.
Courtney, who's usually not very good, but he kills it as a bad guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a whole climax in Louisiana, which is in New Orleans, which is kind of fun, but I don't know. There's a great dramatic moment at the end of the movie. I would like to mention.
Yes.
That's great,
But
and I
is it
wish there
worth
was more of that in
sitting
the
through
movie.
2 hours?
No.
No.
I don't
So we
think
both
so.
say don't see it in the theater, and I don't even think stream it. If you really are in the mood, go watch the
Yeah,
first Jack Reacher
just
movie.
not
or
a bad
another
movie- not a bad
or
movie,
another
just
Tom Cruise action film.
Not that great. So
Great.
I get we both are on the same page here.
Right.
So in local news, really quickly, we do want to mention if you're living here in southern Utah, Rocky Horror Picture Show is playing a 4-day run, and this is not watered down. They do the whole thing. It's going to be a blast at Main Street Cinema. And then we also have Horror Fest, which we talked about on the show last week, which is Saturday night, 6 p.m. at Megaplex's Red Cliff Cinemas, and they're closing their doors.
Yes.
This is the final event. It's a clown-themed event. We want everyone to come dressed up, support local filmmaking. It's going to be a blast, so we highly recommend that.
Very good. Another episode of Film Fanatics in the can. I'm Bruce Bennett, film critic with MadAboutMovies.org.
And I'm Adam Mass with Cinemast.net.
And we're Film Fanatics. Are you?
Yeah, Inferno had kind of an environmental thing going on
Oh,
too,
sure.
touching on that stuff. So
It made me want to visit Italy. So
Yeah.
if that was one of its purposes.
we didn't even mention Ben Foster. What a
Right.
cool year he's had with Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Yeah, he is.